Okay, just a quick update on the pickup truck. I'm putting everything back together, getting ready to fire it up. And I want to cover a couple of things I'm doing. I have a suspicion that the modification I made to the baffle on my valve cover to run the dual row timing chain could have resulted in excessive oil being drawn out of this ventilation tube here. So you can see I've built kind of just temporarily kind of a makeshift oil catch can. This is just an oil air separator from, I think, Home Depot actually, for an air compressor, but it'll do a little bit of a job to catch oil temporarily, and also having these clear hoses will allow me to see what's going on. I think it's possible that the engine is drawing oil out through there, so I want to check that out. The other thing I did, as mentioned in the other video, I put the new shaft seals for the throttle body. Took off the tape that was covering the idle air control valve entry hole here, as I've mentioned in previous videos. And I'm running the adjustment nut inside the idle air control area at 2 3/4 turns. I'm hoping that will allow the idle air control valve to fully close at around 100 degrees Fahrenheit of coolant temperature. So a few other things I've done, I switched over to the Asian red coolant. Just finished filling the radiator. The way that I fill the radiator is I take this heater hose connection off and I fill it from here, and it back flushes in through the motor. So that's, kind of cuts down on the amount of trapped air inside the cooling system. I still purge it. But I feel like going back up through that cylinder head kind of works better most of the time. The other thing is I went to a hotter heat range plug. I switched from NGK over to Nippon-Denso, running the Nippon-Denso 14 heat range instead of the 16, on the idea that if the engine is getting oil into the cylinders, the hotter heat range will maybe help out. Maybe cause the pistons to expand just ever so slightly more to help the sealing on the oil control rings and so forth. The other thing I did was I modified the plugs as I showed in another video. These are the old NGK plugs that I just pulled out, but you can see if you kind of, I'll show you the difference between. So if you kind of look here on the right of your screen is a standard plug, and then on the left is one that I had previously modified, and you can kind of see the half strap modification. And what all that's doing is it's trying to get that strap out of the way of the fuel mixture that needs to be ignited. So you can see when the strap is cut back a little bit, the spark is much more visible to the fuel mixture coming into the chamber and being compressed. So I've started doing that on the motor to see how it works. The other thing is I've been running the plug gap at 25 thousandths instead of the factory recommended 31 thousandths, just to get a little bit more controllable spark and a little bit more intensity to the spark. So that seems to be allowing the motor to rev out a little bit better from what I can tell. The other thing is, if you look close, you can see I ran a line here. This is the capillary for the VDO gauge. It goes down. Let me see if I can get a shot underneath the truck here. It goes down and it goes into. Let's see if we can get this on camera. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look at that little brass piece there, I welded a bung in, and that's a coolant temperature sensor for a mechanical gauge. And because it's mechanical, it runs the actual capillary, which I snaked around there and went up. And that goes to my VDO mechanical water gauge on the left there. So the reason I have that is I've already got the coolant temperature right here from the factory SR5 dash upgrade that tells me, the temperature of the coolant inside the motor. when it comes out and goes into the radiator and gets cooled either by the airflow or the fan and exits back, that other gauge, the VDO one, tells me the kind of the temperature drop that I'm achieving with the radiator. So I can kind of see how effectively the radiator is functioning by monitoring the temperature of the water returning to the engine. So that kind of, I kind of like having both those pieces of data when it comes to the cooling system, as well as having the oil temperature of the motor. So between those three bits of information, I can get a really clear picture of, whether the engine's overheating or whether the radiator is running effectively, or, kind of where things stand. Also kind of gives you an insight into, when confirm that the thermostat is opening and closing and doing its job. So it's kind of a nice little thing to have. Finally got around to running the capillary for that gauge. So I think that's probably about the latest. Trying to think if there's anything else I've done recently to the truck. I guess that's about it. I might have mentioned I put some Marvel Mystery Oil in, and I'm going to run that for a little while when I start doing some highway testing. And I want to see what kind of mileage I'm getting on the highway. Currently around town, driving a little bit, aggressively to test the RPMs and so forth. I've been getting around 17 to 18 miles per gallon in city driving. So pretty happy with that. I'm still dialing things in a little bit with the airflow meter. I'm running it 1 click leaner, and I'm still not sure whether I had an issue with the seals or not, but we'll find out pretty soon. I'm hoping on the highway I'll be getting more like 25 plus miles per gallon, but currently 17 to 18 miles around town, driving kind of hard is not too bad. So, and then I think the next thing up on the list might be I'm building a custom push bar for the truck, so I need to have some plate steel laser cut, and then I'll be doing some welding. So I'll have a little video coming in a couple weeks probably on the push bar stuff. So anyways, that's the latest. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to use the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.